am John Weiss, and to my left,
George Morris.
Rachel McManus.
Pete Pecos.
Martha Taylor, town planner.
and our agenda, if you are at home and you want to download it, you may. We have two public hearings, one scheduled at 7:15 for a site plan review of a project down on Plum Island, which is a drainage improvement program, and a public hearing for a dog daycare training facility on Downfall Road. We also have an appearance by Bill D. Francesco of Stowaway Storage, which is a facility that's half or three-quarters built on Route 1, for some changes and some site plan issues there. So that's our major issues on our agenda this evening, and so I will get started with a discussion of our minutes from May. Where are they? Where'd they go? May 16th. And does anyone have any comments about these minutes? And if so, if not, I'd like a motion for their approval.
Well, we do have the amendment that you made.
One amendment,
This amendment, I will make it then.
please.
On page 3, third line down in the first paragraph, in the second paragraph, change phase, parenthetical phase to parenthetical phrase, stating, and so with that, I guess I would recommend accepting of the minutes. Is that all right?
That's fine.
Okay.
We did a motion.
Give me a second. I'll
Second.
make the motion.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
any?
think somebody else needs to make that.
Yeah.
I move to accept the minutes as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion about it? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good, thank you for getting these. This is an important group, because it was 3 important projects that we were reviewing at the time. Do you have the financial reports?
It's
You-
very, you got a piece of paper.
Is this it? Thank you. So, payroll warrants for town planner and planning administrative assistant. PR 1901 for pay period 7/7/2018 for the town planner only. And PR 1902 for pay period ending 7/21/18. Expense invoices, Massachusetts Association of Planning Directors, annual members, 7/5/2018. MVPC, which is the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, fiscal year 19 annual assessment. What was that, right, 2,500?
Yeah, 24.
24. Which was paid out on 7/5/2018. And Verizon Wireless Planning iPad monthly charge of 7/24/18. We have escrow account payments to Joe Serwatka, who is our peer engineering reviewer for a number of projects. These are for the Governors Academy project, where they're proposing a new, natural, ecological science, environmental sciences building. And so payments to Joe on July the 5th, and then also to Joe on July 24th. And so, Joe, just sign these, I'll sign these now. Is that it?
That's the only thing.
Okay.
And then I think we could probably skip to Bill, he's after, on the agenda after the.
Well, do you think we can do Bill in 5 minutes?
Well, I think we could
And then just go and put off the other for,
just announce that it was scheduled to start at 7:15.
Okay.
We'll open as soon as we finish.
well, the options are to go to the master plan update or something like that. And if Bill is okay, if we can move quickly, I'm happy to. We've had more than enough discussions with Bill already. So Bill, come on up. Maybe bring a chair with you if you like, or, yeah. So what we're doing is we're moving, on the agenda, we're moving item number well, it's not numbers, it just says appearances, Bill Di Francesco Stowaway Storage. Follow-up discussion of proposed changes to approved site plan for Newbury Self-Storage at 131 Newburyport Turnpike, formerly 23 and 21 Sled Road, and request for an extension of time. So actually these are two separate issues. And one is the time extension, and the other is making a decision about whether this is a minor or major change in the plan. And so, Bill, why don't you go over the changes again for the board so we're all know exactly what it is that you want.
So these are the rear 5 buildings. The first 3 buildings which are constructed are down here. These 3 buildings are constructed. These 2 are going vertical. The 3 changes were we ran into ledge in the constructed wetland and had a few site visits with the engineer and the contractor, and we ended up adding this little tail onto the constructed wetland right here and raising the berm a foot.
Mm-hmm.
And the net result of that was increasing the size of the constructed wetland, I think an additional 40-something%.
It was quite a bit. I did a quick, I think it was 50-odd%, but it was from 32 to 54.
Yep. The second change was I wasn't able to get natural gas out to the rear of the property, so we put a precast concrete pad for a 500-gallon propane tank, which is going to sit right here.
Mm-hmm.
The third change was this staging area, approximately 125 feet high. I'm not really sure.
I think it's roughly 240
Like,
or 250.
yeah, that makes, because this building's 245 feet, so it's just a little bit longer than the building. Which we have construction vehicles, we have a stockpile of loam and a lot of rocks back in here.
Mm-hmm. So, explain again though, when it went from 32,000 to 54, that seemed like that's almost a 50% increase. So when we were out there, I just didn't see that.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I can explain. We kept the bottom of the pond the same, but we raised the berm a foot.
So therefore, that
Across-
action itself gave you much greater capacity.
Yeah, across the entire length of the pond, and then we added this tail on right here. So 106, it looks like, is what the berm is at. I think in the old plan it was 105. So you're adding a foot over the entire length of the pond.
And that action in your engineer's letter to us indicated that the increased space you're taking up in there, any stormwater issues would be handled by that? Is that correct?
I think what he was saying in the letter was, in the past, and it's in the report that I just gave Doug, it's addressed in that report as well, the thick one.
Mm-hmm.
In the past, you had 5 acres of land shedding this way and this way. Right now, we've paved, all of this will be paved in impervious surface. The impervious will drain into the pond right here. So now you just have this 2/3 of an acre area which would sheet drain down, back.
Mm-hmm.
This goes to the north, this goes to the south.
I think this is the most interesting, potentially contentious for us issue is the amount of space you've taken up here. What was supposed to be there originally, and then what do you want to put there now, and what's the difference?
When we did the first phase, we had a large staging area where we stored the buildings, the construction equipment, and the extra fill that we had. We never created an area when we did the second phase to accommodate the same kind of stuff. So I have 4 or 5 more truckloads of material coming for these buildings, including roof stores, purlings. They're all going to be staged back here so that the excavating company can then put in this drain line and this drain line right here. We'll continue to store construction equipment. We're going to try and take as much of the rock as we can and run it through a crusher. And this area has to come up, this area in particular has to come up quite a bit before it gets paved. And then eventually I was gonna come back. We're not gonna touch this ledge, it's just too much. And it's a blue and color ledge, which is the harder, the blue and green are the really hard ledge that when you hammer it, it's like talcum powder. Some of these rocks we're not going to be able to run through the crusher because they're too big. The rocks over here will probably be able to get through the crusher, so I'm probably gonna have to stockpile some rocks. And then at some point, I want to get these buildings done, in particular these last two, and leased up. Then at some point, you know, I want to come and decide whether I want to build more buildings, whether I want to use this area for campers and RVs and boats that there's a need for. I just don't know what the need is for this yet. I'm really focused on.
And at the heart of this, isn't it that this is an area that is beyond the area of permitted work under your first
Right.
permit that you had, and you went ahead and did it?
Well, the answer is...
The limit of work.
Yeah, the limit of work is right here, and the answer is yes. There was a stone wall back here, and I cleared this area so we had an area for staging.
Okay. So Martha, you calculate that this is roughly 28,000 square feet.
Yeah, roughly 28 to 30,000
What's the size of the
square feet.
site? What's the size of the site?
I'd say it's 10 or 11 acres.
Yeah, I don't have that.
So it's 6% of the total site. Does that sound right, George?
Yeah, it's 40,000 square feet. 40,000 square feet.
No, this is 28.
So it's
Only
about
back
a
there.
half.
I'm
28.
talking about the entire project.
That's
Oh,
about-
the entire project is like 400,000 square feet.
Yeah. there's,
No, it's more than that.
10
How much
acres,
is that on-
10 acres, 430,000. 430,000.
I was using a builder's acre.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then over here, it's a percentage change, but it seems to address any of the concerns you had. I think your propane is obviously not an issue. I think that's the only thing that jumps out at us. Any questions from you guys? What else I want to ask? Doug, do you have any comments on this project?
I don't, we haven't heard it yet.
You haven't heard it yet?
No, we have not. He's
When-
filed, but we have not heard it. So we'll be
Okay.
hearing it on the 21st.
Oh, okay. But that gives us, because the stormwater issues that are really not our purview anymore, so we'll leave them to you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
And I think when I saw Bill yesterday, he said the majority of the stone that he's going to crush is going to be used on site. So it will be incorporated back into the site.
Okay.
I need the material.
Yeah, I would imagine. George?
The engineer has reviewed this area in the back. Has a engineer reviewed the swale extension?
I don't think so.
No, I mean, we haven't, this is all we've received. We haven't received any stormwater management report or any of the stuff that was submitted.
I haven't even looked at it yet, George. So they have extended the west end of their detention area was extended and the berm was lifted. So I've been told there's enough storage there, but we haven't reviewed it yet.
Okay.
So I guess the question really is, does this constitute a major modification or modification?
Rachel, any thoughts?
Well, based on the fact that he's doing an amended NOI, and will be taken care of in your shop, and the calcs will be obviously amended and taken care of there, I don't have a problem. I guess the only maybe question or suggestion I might have is to make sure there's no paving in that back area
Yeah, the paving's
without further coming back.
right. Now the
Another
paving's only going to go
building.
to where it shows on the plan.
Right.
And that'll be gravel back
And
there, or
there's
just?
gonna be gravel back here, yeah.
It would just be impervious, but we obviously want it to be impervious, so you're gonna have to come back with more calcs.
This would be pervious back here, because there's no pavement.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Yep.
Well, go ahead, anything?
No, that's it.
Peter? Well, I guess pending your guys' review of the stormwater issues, how do we differentiate our decision here from the stormwater issues? Because they are somewhat interrelated.
Right, they are interrelated. You know, I guess the one consideration would be if this project were coming in new, it would, just for that area of clearing, it would qualify as a level 2
Mhm.
project, but.
Well, I think as a percentage of the total project, I really don't think it's a major effort. And I don't, in terms of the, you know, changes that are happening to the total site, in terms of the structures that have been built, the pavement that's been put on it. The problem is you did the work. I mean, I don't want to say that that's acceptable, and that's the problem I'm having with all of this. And
If I had thought about it, I would have obviously asked in the beginning, if we needed it for the first phase. You guys saw what was back there for the second phase.
Yes.
If it was just empty back there and there's nothing there, then I would, you know, consider that that's not right, but we have a bunch of rocks.
right. Well, what do you guys want to do?
Do you want to hold off until the Concom has actually been, until it's been through that
What,
process?
21st?
The 21st.
I would recommend that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm bending in this favor, but let's see what happens at Concom. And our rep to the Concom's not here tonight, but, so that's actually 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away. Yeah, okay, so have a motion that I just defer until we get the information.
Yeah.
So,
That's okay. That is all the information.
yeah, and then also we'll have to have a motion on the extension.
Right, and that language is in your packets.
Oh, where is it? Here it is.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, sorry.
As to this matter, I move to extend, defer any further action on it until, upon the request, until after the Conservation Commission has had its time to review the same matter and report back to us.
A second, please.
Second?
Any comment on it at all? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'm gonna, should I just read this motion, I think?
Sure, if you want to. The request is for an extension of time.
This is for an extension of time to finish the project. Motion, I move that in accordance with section 97-9A8 of Newbury zoning bylaw, the planning board grant a second extension of site plan approval for the Newbury self-storage project on June 1st, 2019, retroactive to June 1st, 2018, the expiration date of the first site plan approval extension for the project as requested by William D. Francesco, general partner of Newbury Self-Storage, in a letter dated July 31st, meaning today, 2018. Site plan approval was originally granted on March 9th, 2015. Second, any comment on this? All those in favor? Aye.
It's really just for paving and striping.
So you got the extension.
Yeah, it'll probably be done
And we'll see you back here hopefully quickly after Concom. Thank you. Okay, we'll get back now to the project on Olga Way, which is being proposed by the town of Newbury. Town administrator and Department of Public Works as the major proposers of the project. So, could you
Sure.
read this?
Town of Newbury Planning Board, public hearing
Excuse
notice.
me, I need to open the public
Yes, you do.
hearing. So, I hereby open the public hearing for the project at Olga Way. And you got language here, do you have that? Sorry about that. Thank you. Public hearing site plan review application for Olga Way drainage improvements and gravel staging and access area in Newbury, Mass. Olga Way and 4 municipal parcels, 27 10th Street, 20 6th Street, 9 McLeod Avenue, and 12 Alder Way, map U02, parcels 139, 142, 143, and 171. The applicant, the Town of Newbury Town Administrator. Please.
Town of Newbury Planning Board, public hearing notice. Residents of the Town of Newbury and other interested persons, please note that on Wednesday, August 1st, 2018 at 7:15 in the second floor hearing room at the Newbury Municipal Offices, 12th Kent Way, Byfield, Mass. 01922, the Newbury Planning Board will hold a public hearing to consider a site plan review application of Olga Way drainage improvements and gravel staging and access area. Applicant is the Town of Newbury Town Administrator. The town requests approval of a proposed plan to reconstruct a portion of Olga Way and install a sand swale within the Olga Way right-of-way and to construct a gravel staging and access area within the existing area of gravel and fill. Work is to be performed on Olga Way in 4 town-owned parcels at 27 10th Street, 20th 6th Street, 9 McLeod Avenue, and 12 Olga Way, Assessors Map U02, parcels 139, 142, 143, and 171, as shown in the drawings entitled Municipal Drainage and Staging and Access Area Design, Map U02, parcels 139, 142, 143, and 171, Olga Way, Newbury, Mass. 01951, Essex County, sheets 1 through 7 of 7, dated July 20th, 2017, revised October 4th, 2017, and June 18th, 2018, and described in supporting documents prepared by Arc Surveying and Engineering Associates, Inc. The applicant is on file for review during regular business hours with the town clerk in the planning office, 12 Kent Way, Byfield, Mass. For more information, please contact the planning office at 978-465-0862, extension 312. All persons interested or wishing to be heard relative to the proposed project should appear at the time and place designated above. John Weiss, Chair, Newbury Planning Board.
Thank you, Peter. Sir, you're from Arc Surveying?
I am.
Come on, introduce yourself and let us know what's going on.
Great. For the record, my name is Matt Tessier from Arc Surveying and Engineering. Here representing the town to do kind of a two-phase project. It's got 2 main components to it. The first is what we see here on this sheet, and I'm just going to walk through this phase of it, and then I'm going to flip to the second phase, which is the storage and staging area, which is just to the north. So, to give you a orient where we are, this is Plum Island Boulevard. This is Olga Way, which ties into Weber's Court.
We can't see from over there.
Sorry, I just, yeah, sure, please go ahead.
Well-
I'll take it.
Well, we do have a bit of a problem because it's on television, and that's the right place for the TV, but if you'd like to move up here and sit right over here, you can do that.
Great, thank you.
Is that a little better? So on this first kind of component of the project, there's been fairly frequent kind of nuisance flooding. Anytime there's a significantly hard rain event, even a hard thunderstorm, you'll get some significant ponding on Olga Way. So the town approached Arc Engineering Surveying to take a look at what could be done, and it's a fairly flat area, so there's not really a tremendous amount of grade that we can use to really pitch water out of the area. And because of a significant amount of existing utilities that come up and down the road to this existing pump station that is kind of the main pump station for this entire area, there's really not too much we can do with changing grades out there. So we looked at a few different options. We looked at stone swales. We looked at adding some catch basins. We looked at adding some other drainage structures, and we ended up with at first proposing some stone swales, but after working with DEP, they really don't want to see stone structures added to the barrier beach. So that brought us back to kind of a simple approach of creating it's a 2-phased approach. We're repaving Olga Way, a portion of Olga Way here. We're going to put a new 10-foot travel lane with shoulders on either side, and we're gonna have a gentle super elevation of the road, which will pitch to where you see in blue here, an 18-inch deep, plus or minus, sand swale. Simple swale, easily maintained by DPW. Where there's access for driveways, we've handled that 2 different ways. For this parcel here, we're doing a small, couple of small double line drainage pipe, and we'll just travel over that. And the reason we're using small pipes is because, like I mentioned, it's really flat, so there's not a lot of cover there. So using the smaller pipes, we can still get vehicles over it and not damage the pipes. And then up in this area, where it's extremely flat, we are pitching just a really gentle kind of grade change to pitch what is right now kind of a natural area pond. We'll regrade that to hit the new swale that's running this way, and then for some swales that are part of the second portion of this project, which I'll show you in a moment. This swale that we're constructing down the west side of Olga will have an invert elevation that generally pitches all the way down to Plum Island Boulevard, where there's a catch basin, and right now the water would goes. It heads that way eventually, but it has ponding issues during the storm. So this reconfiguration of Olga Way and creation of that swale will allow us to pitch water consistently down towards Plum Island Boulevard. And in these big thunderstorm events or something like that, it'll really alleviate a lot of that nuisance flow. And this is not meant for a 3-day rainstorm, hurricane type thing, or even a tremendous tide fluctuation, which definitely surcharges the drainage main that comes up Plum Island Boulevard, but it'll get rid of these smaller events which consistently happen.
Is that one of the major impetuses behind the project?
That was when we were approached. There were 2 pieces. We're about to dive into the second. And yes, I would say all the work on Olga, the impetus was to do with the drainage issue. The second portion of the project, the other major component, is a storage and staging area, which happens just to the north of this Olga and Weber's court, kind of horseshoe roadway, that storage and staging area comes right off the end of Olga. As we terminate this drainage improvement project and end the pavement, we start creating a new gravel apron that runs up to the rear of the property that will be over kind of an old gravel area, but we're going to put new fabric down and gravel to maintain the capacity for larger vehicles to travel on it, loaders or whatever other kind of material they'd be moving the sand around with. And this is kind of the match line of what we were just looking at. Olga and Weber is just to the south of the sheet. So as we get up, that pump station building is sitting right here and has a fence portion of the lot associated with it. There's a little bit of a yard behind the pump station building. We're actually going to bring a section of fencing and then a swing arm gate to control access to this. This is, that'll be closed unless DPW is back here using it for.
Is that like a chain link fence or what?
This is an existing chain link fence. We'll put a small portion of that over, and then like a swing arm gate that can be open and closed in the locking position. What you see in green here is all additional new dune grass planting. Because this is a barrier beach, we were looking to, where we could, provide the area for the, handling and storage of material, as well as try to bring some of the existing gravel areas back to, kind of healthy dune. So the areas you see in green are replanted dune areas. The areas you see in light blue are new drainage swales, very, very similar to what I talked about down the side of Olga. Kind of went through a process of working some structures in here that had a little stone associated with it, and after working through the DEP permits, we removed the stone and tweaked some of the grading associated with those swales, and all the drainage in this area will go to the same existing kind of low areas that are back here. It'll just kind of keep it off the center area where we're going to have the storage and staging. We have essentially what we're going to do here is they're going to bring in like a wearing course of gravel, and underneath that gravel they'll have a filter fabric, so this area will be resilient to that heavy truck traffic, dump trucks, and any front end loaders that might be working material to get it on and off the beaches or wherever else the town needs to be placing it. We've worked the proper turning radiuses. At the end of the lot, you see there's a turnaround area, so even if you have material stockpiled here, the vehicles can still maneuver around it and get in and out and around the piles that might be being managed. One of the concerns the town had was they wanted to really define the area that we were going to be working, and not just, have a wide open lot the way it is now, where little piles end up all over the place and it's disorganized. So what you kind of see highlighted in the orange, similar to the color where I show the gate and the extension of the fences, this orange down both sides of the perimeter of the storage area are wooden guardrail, and they're meant to really define the limits of where they're going to be working this material, and keep it from encroaching back into the areas where we are replanting dune grass, or where there's adjacent parcels that we want to just stay away from. And then there's even some areas where existing kind of wooded vegetation is what we have some along the perimeter of that. And that's really the project in a nutshell. There's the drainage system improvements down Olga, and then this is kind of the second component that has the gated storage and staging area.
So how many dune grasses are being planted?
The total, I could go back to it's a little over, I want to say a little over 3,000 square feet, but I could get you the exact number out of it.
And what's the largest size truck that uses this facility? Do you know?
Through talking with the town, it was more like that triaxle dump truck. We're not talking about large tractor trailers moving in and out here. They wouldn't have the room. So probably front end loader, small front end loader for material handling, and your normal size dump truck that would deliver gravel or loom to a site.
Okay. And Martha, this staging area is basically to provide sand nourishment for the beaches and things like that?
Yeah, any materials that need to be brought in.
Yeah. Okay. It would be, for a project like the Olga Way project, it's a good, construction staging area too. You're going to bring in some materials to construct the swales and things like that, and those could be temporarily stored and safely in an area like this. So,
and the town owns all the land?
Yes, all these parcels are town-owned parcels. Yes.
Okay. Chris, George, Nada, Rachel.
Me neither.
Really?
Questions for Doug?
You guys approved this?
We have, it has an order of conditions and it's beyond the 10-day appeals.
Oh, okay, good. Did you have any concerns when you were?
Well, we really wanted to solve the drainage issue, and that was created when we put the water and sewer in. We ended up paving a little bit too high on that outer edge, and so everything was running back. And there's always been a problem there, but not quite so bad. So DEP has actually ordered stone in trenches for drip lines along houses that they've done superseding orders for. So that's what we ordered in the trench. And DEP called us up and said that they were having trouble down in the southeast region. They were having a fight over this particular issue, and they wanted to be consistent. So they asked us if we'd please pull that off the plan, and we did, and that's why we ended up having to regrade and repitch and play with the road a little bit. It really wasn't our first choice. The rest of it is just as you see. If you go on the Google Earth Pro that's up right now, there's a 2016 picture on it, and it shows you almost exactly what we'll be using that for. It shows the big piles down the Dog Lake. It's from a couple of years back.
Okay.
And we do have piles right now that are the tail on the east side of one of the piles that's there is, or was, on the butter's property. So we want to get it, like Matt says, we want to get it onto the town's property.
Clean it up. You were saying something else?
Yeah, one of the other things that I had wanted to note is there was a lot of discussion when we were going through the Concom approval of, the town would approach this in a kind of construct it as you need it manner. You know, if they don't need to build the whole thing all at once, the Concom condition, the order of conditions to include, you know, that this would be, you know, started on the southern end and built as needed to build it all the way into the property. So that's kind of already built into the plan. You can always add, you know, some additional guardrail and continue to extend the gravel lot as you
Yeah, I
need.
can see how it's guardrail.
Not to ever go past what we showed
The
here.
guardrail is a great idea to define the area. It really helps. Really helps. And I like the idea of putting the added grass in there. It's very good.
Neighbors had concerns that we were going to do too much too fast, and that it may be for other uses, so we did write an order, a condition into the order that he will use it as he needs it and develop it as he needs it. So like Matt says, you won't see that developed all the way to the back unless he has that stock to go there.
You're talking about Jim?
Yes, I'm talking about highway department.
Okay. Folks from the neighborhood who want to be heard or just express an opinion, we'd be happy to hear from you.
Can you just explain
Excuse
about
me.
this? I'm sorry.
Just your name
Yeah,
and
sure.
address.
Carla Ford, 9 Older Way.
Okay.
I apologize.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
don't actually understand what a swale is. Can you
Okay.
just describe?
Yeah, sure. You know, typically, we're on the island, but typically you'd see that is a grass swale is kind of the typical thing that you would see. Most New Hampshire communities really don't have curb and gutter like a lot of Massachusetts properties, and it's just a depression on the side of the road that will kind of run down the length of the road and convey the water to the next, you know, culvert, or in this case, we're going to be down to Northern Boulevard, where there's a closed drainage system made up of catch basins and drainage mains. So it's just really a gentle depression along the edge of the road that will have a low point here. So as this starts to pond, it'll pond here first and spill directly to the catch basin and leave, rather than having, you know, major events up and down the whole length of the roadway.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from the neighborhood like to raise any issues? Yes.
My name's Mark Allen at 5 Older Way, and I've been through all the Concom meetings and spoken with Doug about this project, and everything looks fine. One of the reasons the residents, the abutters, were concerned about this project from the get-go is the first time we saw the plan for this staging area, it was the old parking lot plan. It even had stripes in it, it had everything, had lights, stripes.
Oh, I see.
And this is still has the footprint of the original parking lot plan.
Mhm.
And our concern was this was just step one to get to a public parking lot, which we don't believe Older Way and Weber's Court could ever support the traffic that would be generated there.
Yeah.
So that was our biggest concern. And the guys from the sewer department were ready to put up a sign on my fence facing incoming traffic during a rainstorm saying no wake zone, because it does get deep. It gets 3 to 5 inches deep, and you don't need a huge rain to do that. So this hopefully will help a lot. And so, Doug, who determines how far they can develop this toward the back of the property?
James will be coming to the Conservation Commission, me, and show that he needs the use.
Okay.
So if he's used up a certain amount of the footprint, he'll come and say, can I have some more footprint? And if he needs it, and, you know, obviously, we'll give it to him.
But that'll be public hearing as well.
No, it wasn't set up to, it was right in the order, so it wasn't set up to go to public hearing. No, honestly, you wouldn't know about it unless you were there to see it, so. I know you will.
Can't avoid it. The other thing too, and I was asking Matt about rebuilding Older Way, there's a tremendous amount of heavy truck traffic that goes down that road. Forget dump trucks. We get semi-trailers, we get sewer wagons, and we get a lot of traffic. And Older Way has basically, at least on the west side, has deteriorated over the years. It's just crumbling away. So one concern is if they're going to rebuild Older Way, I asked Matt, are they going to strip out all the macadam and start all over again? He doesn't have, he said it's up to the town.
It can either be a removal and replacement of the gravel base that's there, or you can hire people to come and grind it. It would probably be whatever the DPW or.
Is it grindable? I mean,
Yeah, oh,
is
yeah,
it stable
definitely.
enough that you can?
Oh,
grind it?
absolutely. Yep, yep.
Well, I guess that's James' decision, isn't it?
That would be his call.
All I can say is he's a very good DPW guy. I mean, he really is. We have a lot of confidence in him. So, have you met him?
Yes,
Yeah.
met him at the site review.
Yeah, I mean, he really has done a lot of good work for the town. So if he believes he can scrape it, I believe him. You wanted to say something?
So, just recently, in the last month or two, they brought.
Excuse me.
Oh, Noel Helwig, 5 Olga Way,
No.
9 Olga Way. They brought the big trucks in to sift all the sand piles that had been sitting there for I don't know how long. Why wouldn't they do that every year and put the sand back on the beach where it's supposed to be? Why did it ever pile up so high, and why do you need all this capacity when you could just put the sand back on the beach every year? It only costs $1,500, according to the guys I talked to over there, to have the truck come in and do it all. And it took like a day and a half. So it doesn't seem like we need all this capacity for sand that should be on the beach. And all you gotta do is have it sifted, and they take all the crap out of it and dispose of that, and they put the sand back on the beach.
In our early discussions with, use discussions on how the staging area would be used, and I would definitely defer to the DPW as far as, a full description of the material they need out there. I know that they do use sand in an emergency. So you have a storm and sand needs to quickly move to another place. If it's on the beach, chances are you've lost it in the storm. So they do have some that they like to keep, away from that velocity zone that's going to pull the sand away, and have some stockpile that they can quickly mobilize to an area and place. But the DPW would have to elaborate on, additional uses for the area.
The sand doesn't come from the beach. The sand comes from projects. The sand might come, the last time it was stockpiled there, it came from the little bit of dredging they're doing up around the fishing boats. Up in Newburyport, they have a problem. Those fishing boats prop dredge every time they go out because they get so much accretion there, and they're starting to take that. They'll bring it down and stockpile it. If it's the wrong time of year, if the plovers are on the beach, they stockpile it there. They come and get it and they use it. We had 2 different piles there. There was a big pile that was pretty good, pretty clean when you looked at it. That was material that we bought to comply with a order that we got from the governor when we went down and we did beach scraping. They wanted us to have a certain amount of sand there for emergency uses. So we put, I think, $25,000 worth of sand down there. We voted at a town meeting and put it down there. As he develops this, you'll see another pile of dirty sand down there. The stuff that's down there that's got all the material in it, that came from the water and sewer project. So as they dug the trenches for the water and sewer, they thought they had clean sand, but you had little pieces of blacktop in it. The blacktop was dry, it crumbles from the edges, comes in, and that's why it looks like salt and pepper in there, because that's what that was. As they develop that area, they'll take that 8, 10, 12 inches of material that they're going to replace with gravel, and they'll screen that at some point. Whether they screen it as they go or stockpile it, screen it and stockpile it, I'm not sure. That'll be James' call as to how he wants to work his site. But it doesn't just kind of come off the beach and then go right back on. It's not that situation.
Do you want to say something?
Alda Braga, 5 Donna's Way. I just have a question on the staging. Once the drainage project is complete, are you going to be removing those guardrails, the gravel, or is everything going to stay as is?
Well, there's gravel, back there now, so it will remain gravel, and then the guardrails that are placed are to stay. Yeah, it'll be a used stockpile area.
Anyone else? Yes?
Ellen Bailey, 5 Olga Way. I'm not sure if this is the appropriate place to ask this question, so we can defer me if you need to, but in light of this happening, what are the parameters around what can be stored back there, what should be stored back there, for how long, and how do we check into that? I know that's probably not you, but we've had things stored back there in a very messy fashion, just, site-wise, but just broken pipes and and plastic bits, and I know Newburyport was storing some things that the town administrator mentioned she didn't even know were there. So we have to live there, that's the reality, and it's our view. So what is the plan for what will be back there besides piles of sand, and what do we do if we maybe feel strongly about what's there and what isn't there?
Has the town prepared an operations and maintenance program that describes the activities and when they will be going on?
Not on materials or things like that.
Is that something which is reasonable to have put in?
I don't know, Doug, what do you think?
A short O&M plan is not a big deal, so if it's something that would make the board comfortable and would satisfy the neighbors' concerns, I don't think the town would have a problem. A lot of our mess, a lot of the stuff down there was from the city of Newburyport, and they really weren't communicating well with us. It would just show up. So I know town administrator had to talk with the mayor, and I hope that stopped. I think that's going to stop. And certainly if it's locked, there would be no access to that site anyway. So
it just seems since we require that of almost all of our developers, some kind of operation and maintenance plan, and it may well go to address your concerns and some of the other neighbors' concerns about there. A short O&M doesn't have to be more than a page.
You're right.
As part of this, as a condition on it, I think would make some sense.
Thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts from anyone? Any further thoughts? Doug, anything further?
Nothing to add.
Okay. Anything further from you?
Sorry, one more
Yes,
question.
go ahead.
Daily again. What's the timing on this, do you know? And how long would the project last?
Well, I think it'll be kind of built as needed, and I would have to defer to, the town's, how much money is available and when they can implement, the drainage improvements, and so I defer to the town's.
Anybody from the town, is it planned for this year, or do we know?
I honestly don't know. You have to talk to the administrator
Okay.
and see when she's going to do that.
Thank you.
Any thoughts from board members?
Yes, would the maintenance plan include periodic maintenance on the swale by the town?
Yes, we did
As needed.
we did prepare operation and maintenance for the drainage system. That was a
Okay.
requirement of the
And that's
swales will be
that's
periodic.
submitted in your application?
That is, well, it was in the order conditions, and you have that, so, yes, that it was an accepted operation and maintenance of the stormwater system.
And then if some of the grass dies?
I don't think we had replanting of the grass. I don't
Yeah,
believe.
if some of it, I don't mean to interrupt, John, but if some of it dies, there's no standard for dune grass. There's a standard for bordering vegetated wetland. You have to bring 75% of your plant life back in the first 2 years. We apply that standard to Plum Island because there's no other standard to apply. On Plum Island, you're not really supposed to affect the dune grass. So we apply that same standard, and if there's big patches of it that are dead, we'll certainly have it replaced. If most of it is survived, then it will grow on its own.
I mean, you're involved in this stuff all the time. About the stuff that's been planted over the last couple of years on the beach, most of it has survived?
Most of it survived,
That's my
but
take.
then we have huge patches of die-off on Plum Island also. We've got a nematode down there that's getting into the dune grass and killing big patches, the size of this floor.
And there was no, dune grass loss, so the dune grass we showed was not
This is a
replication
No, I get
for
this.
an impact.
I get
This
this.
is just,
This is kind of decorative in a way.
yeah, it also, goes also along helping to define the edge of where they really should be working.
Sorry, Ellen Daly again. There actually was a ton of dune grass there when I bought my house, and it was all surrounding the Newburyport building, and it was beautiful, and the trucks rolled over it all and destroyed it. So I assume that the gate now will stop that from happening, because they'll hopefully have to stay. But nobody parks in the area where they're supposed to park, and nobody drove straight down the little lane that's there, but rather all the way in, so all that dune grass was killed by trucks, just FYI.
What's the size of the gate and the chain link fence that you are proposing?
This is a 24-foot wide road, so the gate will swing across the whole roadway there, and there's like 17-foot extension of the fence.
Any possibility that can be covered in black instead of having the typical chain link?
The fence?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what the existing fence is.
This is what we require of all of our solar people, and people are having fences up all over the place, so we should do it too. It's much more aesthetically pleasing. So if you could make that, that would make sense.
No problem.
Okay. Martha, give us a little bit of your sense about where we ought to be right now with this. Do you think that we can go through decision criteria? Or are there things that are left out, or what do you think?
I think it would be reasonable to go through the decision.
And then everybody can hear what our criteria are, and then I can find them again. Okay, so when we have, planning board has a site plan review of projects, we have decision criteria that we need to go through. And so I'm going to read through them. We do this for every project that requires one. We have, it's section 6, decision criteria, and items 1 through 6, and then in A, and then it's all the way to M. So I'm going to read these. It could get boring. So just listen. I will also be asking the board members whether they believe that the criteria have been met for this project. And then after that, we will take a kind of a, if we feel that we have a vote, we will be directing the town planner to come up with a written decision for the next meeting. But we will not be voting on it tonight. So we're going to go through the decision criteria. We'll see if we believe that this project meets the criteria that we've set out. Then after that, we'll direct town planner to prepare a decision that we can then vote on at our next meeting. Okay? So, decision criteria. The planning board shall approve an application for site plan review if it finds that the applicant has submitted sufficient information from which it can determine that the proposed project will minimize 1, the volume of cut and fill. Okay? I think we're okay.
Yes.
The number of removed trees. There's no removed trees. The area of wetland vegetation displaced. There's none. None displaced. Soil erosion. I don't think there's any soil erosion. The threat of air and water pollution. None. Traffic congestion. Nothing more than what you have. Avoid removal of existing stone walls, or where removal is, there's no stone walls. Provide adequate stormwater management and other utilities consistent with the requirements of storage. So basically, you've opined on this. Am I right, on the
Yes.
stormwater management?
Yes.
It should be a net improvement, yes.
Okay.
We've done the best we can with what the resource areas will allow us to do.
Okay. Maximize safety for pedestrians and vehicles both on the site and entering onto the egress from it. Well, my take is you're putting in safety procedures, you're grading the road, you're putting stop signs in, and rechanneling traffic. That was my quick read. Did you remember anything else from that? Provide adequate access to each structure for fire and emergency service equipment. Do we have any comments from the fire department on this? Minimize obstruction of scenic views from publicly accessible locations. Not an issue. Minimize visual intrusion by controlling the visibility of parking, storage, or other outdoor service areas viewed from public ways or premises residentially used or zoned. H. Minimize intrusion of glare from headlights and site lighting on surrounding properties. So, I mean, the amount of traffic is the same, am I right, for this project as what existed there before? And was glare an issue out there? I mean, I'm asking your neighbors who live out there. Just not an issue, because they work during the day. Minimize unreasonable departure from the character, materials, and scale of, they're not building any buildings. Prevent contamination of groundwater from any source. We're okay.
It's no, the use down there is going to be no different than what it is now, so the use is not changed.
Enhance
We don't permit uses either.
Thanks. Enhance the appearance of the property to the greatest degree possible by means of landscaping and other site amenities. So the two things we're looking at is a structuring of Alga Way, which should be an improvement, the swales, which should be an improvement, the dune grass, and the wood patches. Okay, I think those are. Minimize impacts of the use of adjacent properties through regulation of hours of operation, delivery, noise, rubbish removal, and on-site storage. I think that's the kind of thing we'd like to see in an O&M. Okay? Ensure compliance with provisions of Newbury zoning law, including parking signs. So that's our decision criteria based on my discussion through here. I believe that we have met all of those. So what do we do next?
So it would be a decision in favor to approve.
Yeah, I guess I should ask everyone. Rachel, how do you feel about this? We're not voting, by the way.
I don't have any problem with it. I think it's fine.
George?
In favor.
Peter? And I don't either. So with that, I would say that we should come up with a motion to direct Martha to write a decision that we can look at.
So moved.
So moved and seconded. Any further discussion about it? Okay. Do you have any further questions, Martha?
No, so we'll keep the hearing open in case there are any questions or need more information.
Right, until the next meeting, which could be,
Well, the next,
we couldn't do it on the 15th.
no, that's on the 15th. I think the only thing we have that night is
It's
the
governor's.
continuation of governors.
We could do it on the 15th.
I will not be here.
You will, oh, that's a problem.
Right, but it's not a special permit, it's a.
Oh, I was thinking of the next one. Do we know if Jim will be here?
I believe so, I think this was.
And he can watch this?
Then he can, yes, he can watch this.
Then I think we're all set. And we'll need a motion, I guess, to carry this forward to our next meeting on August.
I move to carry this matter forward until August 15 meeting, 7:15.
I think
No,
governor's
he said 7:15.
so
Maybe,
7:45.
yeah, the governors could take a while. You never know.
7:45.
So I'd say 7:40.
Although we can't move it forward if that takes a shorter time.
All right, let's just think for a second. What we're expecting from governors
And
is,
we're gonna go over the draft decision and mostly for those materials.
materials that we wanted to see about what they were going to put on the building
We're gonna get a final footprint.
and a final footprint.
I would hope.
You know, I'm not sure that they're ready to do that. I think there may need to be a condition that they'll come back if the footprint changes. That's my guess, because there's still a work.
Okay, 7:30. All right, 7:30. We can, right, push it back. Okay.
Second.
Peter did.
Oh, he did.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Carla Ford, 9 Older Way. Would you expect to have that O&M then by the 15th?
Yes,
So that people, is that something people will be able to review?
don't know. You responsible or is James?
I think we'll probably contact Tracy and get, certainly we need to work with James to get the proper.
Okay. Contact Martha
Yeah, you can contact me.
Okay.
and obviously Tracy works right here. So we'll work on it. I mean, the town will work on it immediately and hopefully we'll have something for you.
Okay, great.
Okay. With that, I think we're done with All Go Way. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Martha, do you want the green cards from the other?
Yes, yes.
Can I see that map?
I didn't do that.
Sure, absolutely.
Good to see you.
So our next item is put that outside if you could. Public hearing, special permit application, dog daycare, training and play groups, 35 Downfall Road, map R41, lot 60. Applicant Jennifer Ford, Seacoast Canines. And that's it. Peter?
Town of Newbury Planning Board Public Hearing Notice. Residents of the town of Newbury and other interested persons, please note that on Wednesday, August 1st, 2018 at 7:45 p.m., the Newbury Planning Board will hold a public hearing on the second floor hearing room at the Newbury Municipal Offices, 12 Kent Way, Byfield, Mass. 01922, to consider the application of Jennifer Ford, Seacoast Canine, for approval of a special permit to operate a dog daycare, including dog training and dog play space at 35 Downfall Road, Byfield, Mass. Assessors map R41, lot 60, in the residential agricultural district. Copies of the application are on file with the town clerk in the planning office, 12 Kent Way, Suite 101, Byfield, Mass., and are available for review during regular working hours. For more information, contact the planning office at 978-465-0862, extension 312. All persons interested in or wishing to be heard in the proposed special permit application should appear at the time and place designated above. John Weiss, Chair, Newbury Planning.
Jennifer?
Great.
You look like Jennifer. You want to come forward and give us information about what you're proposing?
Sure. To you specifically?
To,
Everyone?
I mean, to, what you
It's my
need to
first
do
rodeo.
is, yes, it's to us,
Okay.
but it's also to the audience. And it's also to the TV cameras, too.
Folks watching at home. So I moved to 35 Downfall Road last September. I've had my business, Seacoast Canines, since 2012. And since moving to the property, I've been functioning more as a home office, a home-based business. So allowed 2 employees to work on site with me. And primarily I employ dog walkers who are in Newburyport. And so each day there's a lot of back and forth to get keys, which we keep in a secure place, and then to go walk dogs and bring dogs for me. And since we have the 18 acres and it was a horse farm, so we have all these paddocks, we fenced our farthest out paddock to do dog play, which has become very successful and very in demand with our clients. And so the goal would be to reduce the services that we offer in terms of the walking and going back and forth, and consolidate things on the farm, and essentially have more of our employees be able to come and stay and do, a 4-hour group, so we call it camp. And essentially, instead of doing a bunch of 1-hour walks, having all the dogs come spend the 4 hours and then bring them home. And so the doggy daycare permit is the one most close to what we're talking about. It's a little bit different in the sense that we wouldn't allow our clients to be driving their own dogs. Currently our kennel license is for 30 dogs. We would like to expand that to 40 so we have some growing room. But rather than, go ahead.
So you currently have 30 dogs there at a time?
No, but we have our kennel license from the town is for up to 30 dogs.
Up to 30?
Yes.
And so, I'm just curious I'm sorry for interrupting, but what I was curious about is, what is the difference between what you do now and what you want to do?
So what we do now is have 2 employees on site with me and 6 or 7 employees out walking. I would rather have 4 to 6 employees stay with me, have more dogs stay on site for those 4 hours, and fewer trips out to Newburyport and back and forth. So fewer actual dog walking, more group play.
So the dog walking all occurs on your property, or does it occur all over town?
No, that's all in Newburyport.
In Newburyport?
Yes, but our office is at my property, and so there's a lot of coming. I keep all of our clients' keys for security reasons. So the dog walkers have to come, get things, and then go.
Oh, now I understand.
Yeah.
So that's primarily a dog walking function, as
Right.
opposed to a training function, which is what you're talking about in here.
Yeah, so we have a smaller scale of that happening now where we train and do group play for the 4 hours. But it's on a pretty small scale. We have a lot of demand for it. It's more the amount of employees I can keep there. For safety reasons, we only will take so many dogs at this point to do the 4-hour play. So we wouldn't want more than 10 dogs per employee, essentially, is for safety reasons.
So what's the maximum number of dogs that you would have at any given time?
Currently,
Well, no, in what you would do,
oh,
what you propose,
I would say in the next 2 years, up to 40.
up to 40 at any given time,
Yeah,
during the week and the weekend?
just during the week.
During the weekend, it's less,
Yes.
am I right?
Yeah, so at the back, the last page of the permit application, I made a table because it is a
Yeah, I
little
saw that,
confusing.
and that's what I wanted to verify.
Yeah, so over the weekend, we don't do any of the group play. We currently rent a space in Amesbury to do our training classes, you know, puppy kindergarten.
But you give that up and move that to your property?
Yeah, so that would be the only thing that would occur over the weekend, would be like a 1-hour training class, but not the groups of dogs coming to play.
But there would be several different, potentially several different training classes over there, on a given Saturday or a given Sunday.
Right, our current schedule is usually between 4 and 6 classes over the course of a weekend. Less in certain seasons and more in other seasons, but 4 to 6 that would take place on site. In the perfect world.
So I'm sorry for interrupting, but if you wanted to continue or wherever you are in your description.
So the 4-hour play group that we call camp is the service that we'd like to expand. And essentially, so rather than in a typical doggy daycare, you have like 50 to 100 dogs. Their owners drop them off. They can be there 12 hours if they want to be there 12 hours. Their owners pick them up and bring them home. There's generally no rules or structure or anything. So ours is different in that we pick all the dogs up ourselves, so our clients aren't driving to and from. And each group of 10 or fewer dogs would have an attendant, and a trainer would oversee each day. So all of our trainers are certified through a board.
So you're doing that now, is that right? Your walkers are going and picking up various dogs
Yep,
and walking them in Newburyport. And
Right.
they're gonna pick them up and bring them to your place.
yeah, so right now we're split. So some of them are out walking in Newburyport, 2 are with me at the farm doing this 4-hour camp. So almost like a prototype. So it's a smaller number of dogs than what we propose for the future. But essentially, I oversee the staff members who work with the dogs, and we do training while they play. So we teach them, no barking is a good one, not digging, playing nicely, not jumping, you know, sort of the basics.
And how they respond to that?
Very well. That's why we did the prototype first. We had to give it a trial, but yeah, I mean, obviously being residential, the no barking was a big deal for
Yeah.
us, so we worked pretty hard on that.
Okay. Board members have any questions before we open it up?
The training also includes good behavior in the sense of taking command or sit, run, behave yourself.
Yes, it's all within the group, and so we don't, the only thing we really don't do is walking on a leash, because we don't do that. So, coming when called, we call them, we have a timeout system, penalty box for dogs who don't listen. And we require, if dogs don't do well learning in the group, they either have to do one-on-one training with one of the trainers, or we don't let them come back. So, we do have a pretty high standard for being able to stay in our program. Very strict.
So I just want to make sure that I understand on Saturday, just so I got a feeling for traffic.
Yes.
I'm a traffic flow person.
Yeah.
So there'd be potentially up to 8 clients,
Mm-hmm.
up to 6 times, up to 6 classes, so 6 times 8, so 48.
Yep,
So 48 times 2, up and down. So.
right, over the course of the weekend, yeah.
On the
On
Saturday.
a Saturday.
So we're fairly flexible in our scheduling.
Saturdays and
We
Sundays.
do
That's
Saturdays
okay.
and Sundays.
Yep.
Where we rent now, we sort of have, you know, the full run of the place on the weekend. And that, I think I noted, is extremely flexible because we set them each course, you know, it's about 5 or 6 weeks.
So along that, would you kind of tailor the hours so that, you know, like on Saturdays it might be mornings and on Sundays it'd be 1 to 3, or has that gone into your?
Exactly, so at this time, where, again, we rent a space in Amesbury, we just set them based on our availability. In order to switch them to Downfall Road, we're very flexible, you know, about hours as far as what time things can start and when we want things to end. And some of those classes can be run in Newburyport. They're sort of on location kind of classes. So the weekend class is actually probably the most variable and flexible in terms of, you know, I'm happy to accommodate whatever guidelines.
I would think that would be the best thing for your neighbors too, just to let them know
Yes.
what your plan is for the
Right.
weekend activity.
Peter, what was the numbers that you came up with? What was the total?
So we had 48 times 2.
Okay, 96.
96
Yeah.
traffic
Total,
jams.
over a 6-hour period.
I read that as like 6 to 8 over 2 days.
For one day.
Per day,
Per
Saturday.
day.
Not
Saturday
per day.
and
Right, so it was 6 to 8
Over the course of the 2-day
over
period.
2 days. It
So
isn't
is that-
6, it isn't 6 a day.
So is that 96 divided by
It's total, that's total.
Total.
Right.
12
No,
hours?
that's
No,
only,
no, no, no.
so there's 2 days, Saturday.
We have 6 hours over 2 days with the possibility of 8 dogs per training unit hour.
So say potentially 3 on Saturday,
And
3
3
on
on
Sunday,
Sunday,
so you
right.
get
Right.
48 traffic trips on
Right,
each
and
day.
total.
Yes.
Well,
Maybe around here.
8, 16, 24, 48 for the total of 2 days.
I'm interested in how many per hour.
It's not
8.
bad.
It's not that bad.
Well, 16.
I understand,
So
but
16 trips would be the course,
you don't know what it
1 hour
is.
course.
Yeah, because they could be coming back
Right,
and
if
forth.
we're doing really, really well, we
Right.
could 8,000. And that would be ideal for
Some
me,
come and
but-
some leave.
Right.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, I would say right now we have 4 in
Yeah,
class.
6 times
but
4,
Right.
6 times 8.
We would never go higher than this.
Right.
Some of the neighbors have expressed concern about speeding on the road because that's a problem anyway.
Yes,
And I'm not sure how wide that road is. I have no idea.
17 feet.
17 feet. Okay, so speeding is
it's close,
important.
yeah.
It's the ancient way.
The ancient
It
way.
is
Are there
the
any
ancient
trees
way.
up there?
Hold on, folks, we're gonna ask
Yeah.
your
Yeah,
opinion
okay.
in about 2 seconds.
Are there children up there at all in Downfall?
Yes.
Any children?
Living
So
in my house.
how do you go about training your clients to slow down?
So we actually have our clients sign a contract prior to training. It's not like the employees who have a code of conduct, and so if they are caught speeding, there could be consequences for them. For clients, I mean, the consequence would probably be if we had to kick them out of class, we would kick them out of class. But, and we do that for other reasons as well, so I'm not afraid to kick them out of class.
So that would be an intent to be a good neighbor, to
Right.
demonstrate, to the neighbors that you're trying to control.
Right, yes, and we designed our code of conduct for our employees with that in mind, because we have had to speak to them, and there are consequences for them. And we have Evelyn Noyes up the street who lets me know if someone's driving too fast.
Right. Okay. Have you had, well, since the neighbors are here, I guess I'll ask it and see what the reaction is. Have you had any complaints of noise,
Not noise, no,
excessive barking?
no. Although Larry and John couldn't be here, he wrote me a letter, are the ones closest, and Jim at the bottom of the street we actually spoke to last week to double check, but nothing from them.
So, most of the activities that you're planning will be outside in a paddock area, is that what you were implying?
Yeah, we'll have a plan for indoor space to renovate our barn for winter,
Mm-hmm.
but other than in, inclement weather, outside.
Okay. Any other thoughts from you guys?
No.
No? Peter?
No, and so you'll have a dog waste removal company.
Yeah,
that will take care of
Yes.
that.
that's a big deal. Okay, anybody from the audience who'd like to say something, come on forward and let's hear what you have to say. Your name and address.
John Robertson, 7 Lunway Road. Am I on TV?
Well, you are if you come up here, but
I love it.
you're not if
You have
you're
the
there.
option.
If you stand right there, you're on TV.
That's
I
great.
have several questions, concerns really. And by the way, I think you're putting that property to wonderful use.
Thank you.
However, everything seems to be fine. But I've already been to your house twice. About what?
Twice?
Yeah, speaking.
I was with you once,
And
yes.
who were they?
It was
Employee.
John's son,
Now, the employees do sign a contract,
yes,
and there's repercussions if they violate.
correct.
What is the violation?
They spend 2 weeks on probation working at minimum wage.
Okay. Who monitors that? You?
Yes.
Okay. If you have 40 dogs,
Mm-hmm.
and the clients do not bring the dogs to your facility,
Mm-hmm.
your staff, how many are there?
10,
10. They go and get these dogs every day and bring them back.
correct.
And how many dogs can they put in a vehicle?
8.
8 dogs in a vehicle?
Mm-hmm.
Good, there's no need for them to speed limit,
No, there's not.
right?
I agree with you.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now, in your report here, which I have a copy of,
Mm-hmm.
your main concern are loose dogs running around the neighborhood.
Yes. From our business?
No.
Oh, our
You
neighbors.
wrote it in your,
Yes.
and your first concern is loose dogs
Mm-hmm.
because of speeding,
Mm-hmm.
cats. And the third thing you mentioned are children.
Yes.
That's unique. I would prioritize things the other way. However, that's nothing else. I want the board to be advised that in this one neighborhood, we have several learning disability children. We have little children, we have blind people. All right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't see and hear and react the way we would with cars whipping up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, nobody's going to arrest your driver. We don't have the authority. But we can make it. I've already hauled it a few, my wife also. They don't care. Now, I don't know if they're clients or not, but if you tell a client they sign a contract, if they're speeding, who determines they're speeding, by the way? They sign a contract for negligent driving, shall we say. Who determines this course of action against them? They're not going to tell your customer, hey, I'm going to punish you. How do we control this together as a team, as a town? Remember now, it's the ancient way. It's downfall. We have other people here with animals, lots of them. Avery Woodworth and his wife are really into it. And they walk 7 and 8 dogs at a time,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes 5. And they walk them on leash. We have any problem. No problem at all, because they don't use cars. Our concern is your clients aren't aware of Byfield, ancient way, downfall, if you will. And then you're just going to go from one place to the other. Shopping to work, zing, zing, zing. It's already happening. There are people going, we know who has what car. So we have a good idea of where they're going. You need clients to be successful in what you're doing, and we hope you are successful. We don't want to put a roadblock on your activity. And as the town and the board, we say, we welcome this type of activity. We are agriculturally zoned, residential. Nothing in there about business, by the way. But you're reapplying, I know. Okay? We want to make it smooth for everybody. We have a list of questions. Most of it, if not all of it, is in relationship to safety. Our concerns is hearing brakes go on. Where is it? And there's little kids on tricycles coming and going through my property, which goes from Downfall into Lenway. Driveway goes right through. The children learn to ride here. 3 generations learn to ride the bikes there. It's safe. Now, you shouldn't play in the street. We've heard that all the time, so we're very conscious of that. But we want this board to take a look, really look in depth at your client base. You can't tell them you can't go fast on that road, or I'll take your dog somewhere else. You can't do that. You're in business. Your staff, you can't give them repercussions that affect their job status on hearsay. You can't hold them back. You said cut their hours back. I don't know if that's legal. I don't think so. But if somebody's tractor happens to break down, all right, across downfall, going one way out, hello, I am. But we don't want to get to that, okay? So, I want to hear more about the traffic control situation. And as these folks down here do as well.
Okay.
All right?
Do you have a specific question?
Oh, yeah, we'll give them to you in writing. Not
Okay.
tonight, but we'll get them to you. They're right here.
Let somebody else talk.
Let me just say that anything that you have, which is very specific, should be submitted to
Don't
Martha.
interrupt yet, John.
To,
I'll go for it.
to Martha,
Okay.
and then she'll share them with the applicant. Okay?
Man,
Yes?
I'm Avery Woodworth, 19 Downfall Road. Two things. I have a letter from a neighbor. Would you guys like it to, it's just a brief overview of her opinion. Joanne Hogan, she lives.
I
on
have this,
Downfall.
thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I just didn't know if you had it.
Yeah,
so
appreciate
I
it.
don't know if we can
I'm gonna
read it.
read, no, I'm gonna read it.
Okay, awesome. Our biggest concern is that this is a special permit. And a special permit has to be granted for special circumstances. We've been through this with other things with developments, and most of it is traffic related. And by my calculations, it says right here in the permit, you're gonna be doing 6 classes over Saturday and Sunday, so that's 48 trips in, 48 trips out if you do the math each day, which is 96 total each day, not one day for the weekend. That's 100 cars Saturday and Sunday, basically, I'm rounding up, obviously. That's a lot of traffic on a little tiny road. And then just the regular traffic during the day is anywhere from 16 to 32 per day in and out Downfall Road. It's a tiny little street. We bought there because it's a tiny little street and a dead end, and we knew there were only 3 or 4 properties at the end of the street. That's all there can be. There can't be any more. So no offense to you, and I understand you want to run a business, but it's not a business zone. It's a residential zone. A horse farm where somebody has a horse and they ride around in their own riding ring, which Cindy had. She had her own riding ring there where she rode her horse. And one person kept a horse there. There were 2 or 3 horses there. That's it. You know, we have the same thing. We ride on our property. That's it. We walk our dogs up and down the street. So the biggest thing really is the traffic and the speed of that traffic. And I appreciate that you can try and control it. You can. No offense. Nobody can. It's just the way it is. So that's really, I think, the biggest thing is the traffic flow on the street can't handle it. And it is a special permit, and special permits are granted on the basis of traffic, and it says in the writing something about obnoxious, and I would argue that speeding cars is obnoxious. I don't have any complaints with the noise. You can't hear anything the highway drowns out. So, but the traffic is an issue. So.
Thank you.
Marilyn Robertson, 7 Lunway Road. I just have one comment about the traffic, and that is that a child was hit at our driveway about 3 years ago, and he survived.
I'll strongly disagree with that.
The child was hit?
The child wasn't hit, the child hit the car.
No.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
right, we were there.
This letter, you were there.
When?
We need to say please.
Excuse me. You'll have a chance to, let's hear you, thank you.
And I had walked out on that side, taking grass clippings down, and come so close to being hit by people speeding.
Your address is what again, name?
7 Lunway.
7? So that's right in the beginning.
It's
right.
not
Oh, the side
We're on
street.
Lunway, but we.
Yeah, I know where it is, I'm
There's
sorry.
a blind rise.
Yeah, I know where it is. Okay. Anyone? Yeah, you know it's the one that we can cover. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes, please.
Larry Serden, 31 and 33 Downfall Road.
Mm-hmm.
So I would advocate, I would advocate for the applicant for the following reasons. The public way. The road has been widened since the last time it was paved. The speed limit on the road is 35 because it's a non-posted road, Massachusetts. The accident in question happened at an 18-mile-an-hour speed, by which the child on the bike bounced off the side of the vehicle. Feel free to contact the state police. They did the accident investigation. Okay, so I don't know what else to tell you. These guys are trying to start a business. They're nice neighbors. You know, I'm the nearest abutter to them. I have no complaints. And I don't know what else to say, but I'd like to give them an opportunity to get their business going. So, as the nearest abutter, I support it.
Okay, thank you.
And we have other dog opportunities on the road, you know, so there's plenty of people coming with dogs.
Thank you. Yes?
One question first for this gentleman. Do you live at that address or do you own that property, sir?
I own that property.
But you don't live there?
I don't live there, but I'm there.
I'm Catherine Cashton. I live on Lenway Road. The traffic has increased already dramatically. Do I have to?
Yes, you.
Otherwise, they can't hear you.
Okay, and Kathy Cashton, 8 Lenway Road, and I just wanted to state, wait a minute, my opinion, that traffic has already increased dramatically. I walk on that road a lot for health and well-being, and to walk my dog, and to walk with my neighbors. It's a very narrow country road with no sidewalks, and 2 cars passing each other are hazardous to begin with, and to increase the traffic flow to that capacity, I think would be a detriment to the community, to our little community on Lenway and Downfall and Johnson. And I just wanted to state my opinion about that. I feel bad because I like to see anybody have a business, but he bought the property assuming that that would be granted, and that's not. It's a special permit, and special permits aren't always granted, and I would defer that it shouldn't be. Especially with the if it's a residential without a posted speed limit, it shouldn't be 35 anyway on that road. It is a hazardous road for anybody. If it was a small child scooting out onto their bike or whatever, there will be a problem, an accident. Thankfully, there aren't that many properties on that road, so it hasn't been a danger to many people, but there has been a marked increase in traffic flow lately. Just wanted to.
Good, thank you very much. Anyone else like
Martha,
to
do you
say?
want John's, my butter's letter? He sent it.
No, I don't.
No, no, we don't.
He gave it to me, he was sick today.
Let me have it. I will read that. Thank you very much. John Hatch. Oh, John Hatch. Photographer.
No, he works at the John Hancock building.
Anyone else? Yes.
So, you have to go up. Don't keep hesitating, because maybe you go up.
Elizabeth Woodward, 19 Downfall. So again, I'm all for you having a business, that's great, but I think of the same thing, and Larry and John, they live like with her in that little area, so nobody goes by their house. We all live where people go in front of our houses. So it changes the, it just changes the feel of, yeah, if you're John Hatch, he's like 5 acres back on his yard, he's got nobody because he lives like next door. Like his driveway is her driveway.
Mm.
Same with Larry. So it's a little slanted to think that they don't care about it. I feel like it's different for us where we have, Joanne Hogan lives about 8 feet off the road. Our house is right on the road. So I think it's the number of cars that, to me, and now to hear it would be Saturday and Sunday is upsetting. That all of a sudden, like, there's gonna be 100 trips of cars going back and forth our house on Saturday or Sunday just seems a bit much. So, that's all. And again, I think all of us want to have, your success, but we're also thinking about, our quiet street that we assumed was residential. And now it seems like it's a commercial application in a residential tiny street. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any further thoughts from board members?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, the concern very much is a speeding issue, as I understand it. And that's an issue for enforcement by our fine police department.
Yeah, it shouldn't be 35.
Well, Central Street's 25 and downfall is 35.
Well,
And it's also
just,
inbound traffic.
just so you know, I mean, first of all, we're not going to be finished here tonight.
No,
So I think that we need to do a site visit, and I'd like to, before we get into a discussion of these kinds of things, board members, where are we with the golf course site visit? Is it on or off, or
That's to be determined. I should know by the beginning of,
next week? Or,
well, either the end of next week or the beginning of the week when it's supposed to. Or actually, not the beginning of next week, because it's scheduled for the 11th.
well, I'm wondering if, see, I didn't want to have 2 in 1 week, but if that's not going to happen, maybe we could do a site walk on that Saturday at this project. Or what do you think? It's too chancy.
Yeah, I wouldn't,
So,
but we could do it on a weekday.
yeah. Can you make weekdays, Peter? So maybe, you think we might be able to do it next week? What are the dates next week? 6th, 7th?
Monday is the 6th, Tuesday's the 7th.
Tuesday's the only day I really have a major conflict, but I could do something next week.
I'm not good on the 6th.
What's Thursday, the 8th? Is Thursday
This
the
is the 9th.
9th? I could do the 8th or the 9th. Rach?
I can do either.
Yes.
But it needs you. And then anybody from the neighborhood who wants to join us, you can join us. So let's settle on a date. Next, what are your, any preference, Wednesday or Thursday?
Either one.
Thursday.
Thursday. Next Thursday at like,
After 3?
after 3?
After 3.
Okay. Next Thursday at 3:30.
Great. At 3:30.
Thursday, the 8th?
Thursday, the 9th.
9th, thank you. Thursday, the 9th of August at 3:30. And our board members will be there, Martha will be there, and any of you who would like to join us can be there. We'll meet, I guess, at the end of your driveway. Is that the best thing? And park, can we park on the street?
That would block Jim's driveway, but there's a turnaround
Oh, it's
for
funny.
like the plows and things.
Oh, so maybe in there, okay.
Yeah, or
Okay.
it's our driveway, the shared area.
We'll do that. But I wanted to get, and I'm not saying I'm going to do this and make this, but what we do in a project like this is that if we do approve something, we can oftentimes have several conditions on a project. And there are many things that I'm thinking of right now, which are anything from what they call speed tables to traffic calming devices, to lowering the speed limit posted, to having those signs that blink back and forth and go, your speed is now. We can condition that and say it's a part of the project. And there's other things that you may come up with in your questions that you're going to give to us that might be good ideas. That's assuming we move forward. I don't know if we will. We haven't seen the site yet. But there are things that we as a board are able to do with a project, given the applicant's willingness to do them and the town's willing, that we can maybe make this a project that can work for everybody. But maybe it can't. I don't know that. But the first step is to go out to the site and take a look. Okay? And then we'll go from there. Get your input. You need to send that letter into Martha about your concerns or any recommendations you have. We understand, I'm sorry your name, but that was a great point. And that is that these folks that live down at the end, they don't have the traffic. You guys have the traffic. And so we get that.
Can I
So-
address that?
Sure, but wait a second. So where we are is that we were going to be tying up this meeting tonight. We'll be carrying it forward to another time, and we're going to do the site walk in between, and then we'll come back here 2 weeks or something like that. What do you think?
Well, the next one again is the 15th.
Be a long night, or we could do the other option is that's where I'm in trouble. because the first week in September,
Right,
I'm gonna be away.
unless you could take a night the last week. I mean,
Well, I was thinking,
guests,
yeah, we have
the
guests, but
20
on the 29th.
I guess,
Not these. They're 3 and 5.
They like dogs.
So anyway, I'm just kind of looking for stuff to, if we had to meet, if we're meeting on the 9th, could we do this again on the 15th? I don't think there's that many complicated issues here. It's going out and taking a look at it and figuring out what's the right thing to do. All right?
Right, so we could set it for 7:45, I mean,
What time is?
so we've got 7:15 for Govs, we've got 7:30 for Ogle Way.
Instead of it, understanding that it might carry for, let's do that.
and I will not be here for the 15th.
But that's
Right.
not good.
I want to assure you I will not be here.
Right, right, now we know that from the discussion about the continuation of the golf center.
Yes.
Right,
Well,
so,
then that doesn't work.
so the other option, I mean, James can mull it in, but it would still be.
No,
if you wanted
that
to
doesn't work.
Wrap it up, so maybe.
We have to have a supermajority. We have to have 4 votes.
Could you consider the 29th?
Yeah, I could.
Yes.
Can you make the
I can do
29th?
that.
Yes.
Can you do the 29th?
I would make that happen.
Could you do the 29th?
Or the
Okay, let's do
7:45
it.
again.
Check for this.
It might be earlier.
Oh, because it's a different night.
Okay.
What time would it be?
Well, if it's 29th, then
7:15.
7:15.
7:05.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll have anything else that night.
3 out of 3 o'clock.
We might, I mean, if we're going to.
So we'll say 7:15 on the 29th. So we'll carry this forward to that date,
7:15 and 29.
on the 29th. Okay, now, you wanted to answer? You may.
I just wanted to say, I guess, to you guys who are impacted by the traffic, we do have the home occupied business with the kennel license, and the consolidation is actually, it's an effort to reduce the trips back and forth. So the dog walking business is already established, and we already, we have everything that we need to continue running that business. My hope was to make something more long-term that, wouldn't require as much back and forth. And the employees are, I guess, they're really great. And I thought Evelyn and I had spoken about her letting me know about cars that were driving fast and which cars, and very specifically so that I can address that. I have our neighbor letter, which went out to the abutters, that I'm happy to give you guys. It has my cell phone number, because even between now and whatever final decision we get, I would like to know which cars are driving fast, and if they, seem distracted while driving. We aren't the only people at the end of Downfall Road. Mr. Robertson, when you came over, we were talking about Christopher, John's son, who was driving too fast. And I told John, but that's John.
I've talked to Chris.
What?
I've talked to Chris.
Yeah.
And his friends.
Yes, and their daughter's home, and I know they have a lot of people in and out
She never
as
drives
well.
fast.
So anyway, but if you would like, I'd be happy to give you my cell phone number, because it is a priority for me, that they aren't driving at all unsafe. The, I guess, alternative reason for us consolidating the business is I would like to foster children. So I don't really appreciate the implication that I think children are not valuable, because they're very valuable to me. And I haven't actually seen too many kids. Obviously now at summer break we see more. I wrote this months ago when we first started this process, and it was mostly dogs and cats that we saw on the road. So anyway, all of that to say, it is, my top priority is to be a good neighbor, because I bought the property not knowing if the business could be there, but planning to live in Byfield for the rest of my life, because that's where I grew up. And whether it's dogs or we end up with goats and chickens, I'm kind of okay with either. Our intention is kind of to get us from our little stage where we are right now to hopefully in 5 years be able to open something in Newburyport and have the revenue to support it. So I also, because I live there, I don't want a doggy daycare in my backyard forever. But we do need some leeway to grow and get the revenue that we need. And I guess, you know, on my end, whether it's not having training classes and having the added expense of renting space on the weekends for that, I'm pretty open to all of those things. You know, I kind of grow the business when and where we can, and hopefully in 5 years that'll mean that we can have a space where our clients are and we can afford the price tag that goes with being in Newburyport and having our clients there. So that's all for me, but I do have my number if you guys would like it. Obviously you know where I live, so there's that. And you know, planning for Thursday the 9th. You guys can all come back, we'll make that.
Hey, what time would that be on the 9th? Do we have a time?
On the 9th?
7:15.
7:15.
Oh, the 29th, 7:15, and the 9th at 3:30.
And if you'll bear with me, I have 3 letters here that I will need to read into the record from individuals who are not here. The first is from Carol LaRock, who is our animal control officer, regarding the proposed dog daycare at 35 Downfall Road in Byfield. In regard to the proposed dog daycare business to be established at 35 Downfall Road in Byfield, I have no concern as to this location or to the establishment of the business. However, due to my experience responding to calls involving dogs who have escaped their yards only to run into heavy traffic, I do have some reservations as to the security of this current setup. Due to the close proximity of I-95 to the proposed business, I strongly recommend the installation of a sturdy 6-foot chain link or stockade fence to surround the entire property.
I actually spoke to Carol
You did?
after we emailed. She had come by and looked at our personal fence around for our dogs, which is 5 feet. And she just said she recommended for the play yards that it be 6 feet. Because I had asked if she meant the whole property being enclosed by a fence, and she just meant that a 6-foot fence
Where
would
you
be
have the
secure,
dogs.
where the dogs would be
That's
playing.
what that's what I thought.
Yeah, I just wanted
when
to
I read
double check.
that. Okay. And now, to whom it may concern, I am unable to make tonight's meetings, but wanted to convey my strong support for Jenny's request to expand her kennel services. Jenny has been an excellent neighbor, keeps a clean and well-maintained property, and keeps control of animals within her care. Please contact me at your earliest convenience if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you, John Hatch, 29 Downfall Road. Then we have from Joanne Hogan, who is your neighbor. Hello to all. To begin, I would like to thank you all for being willing to work for us in this town. It has been a wonderful place to raise my family. I was planning to make tonight's meeting since I saw the posting regarding the dog daycare business issue at the end of Downfall Road, but I'm unable to be there, so I would take this opportunity to voice my thoughts. I have lived on Downfall Road since 1964, a long time to be sure. Since I have been here, there have been only 2 new houses built on the street. However, the traffic has more than quadrupled. Often cars fly down this narrow road as though they forgot they got off Route 95. There was a time when hours could go by without a car passing by my house. I certainly realize that times have changed during the 54 years I've lived here, but my concern with the year-round business developing at the end of this dead-end street is that the traffic will get even busier and faster than it already has become. My request is that you do all you can to maintain Downfall Road as a residential road. Then didn't we also have something from the fire chief? Thank you. Good morning, Martha. As the fire chief, I have no concerns with the proposed plan as presented. As a resident of Downfall Road, I do have some concerns about increased traffic, but I can express my concerns as a citizen at a meeting. As for the fire department is concerned, I have no concerns with the plan. Thank you, Doug.
And he was away and not able to come tonight.
Right. So those are all of the input that we have from individuals who wanted to express themselves. We will, I guess I would like to have a motion to carry the meeting forward.
Actually, may I ask a couple of questions first?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question too.
And this is maybe something we can look at when we do the site walk, but in looking at your aerials and the areas that you've outlined, it appears that you're using area that's on the adjacent property for parking, and I believe that there's an easement there, so I think, I'm not sure that we can address that too much tonight. I'd like to look at it more closely, but if we can bring a plan with us during the site walk and kind of outline the areas corresponding to your aerial photos, I think that would be helpful, just to make sure.
Yeah, there is an easement that goes all the way to the pole line.
Right, great. And I do have the language of that easement. We pulled up the deed. So I haven't had a chance to look at all of it, but I would like to address that further.
Right.
Anything else?
That was it.
Rachel has a question.
Can I ask the neighbors a question? Several of you have said that there's been an increase in traffic. Do you know why there's been an increase in traffic and over what period of time? If there's, according to that letter, there's only been 2 new houses. Why are people now driving up and down the road?
It's recent.
Do you know why? I mean, do you have?
We assume, my assumption would be that it's because there's more activity in.
So it's
property at the end of the
very
road.
recent, is what you're saying.
Excuse me?
It's very recent.
We'd have to ask Joanne to clarify. But yes, it is certainly recent.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay, could I have a motion to continue the public hearing to the 29th at 7:50?
I move to continue the public hearing in this matter to August 29 at 7:15 p.m.
Second. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
See you then. Thank you all. Appreciate your input.
Do you have the green cards from your butters?
Yes, newspaper pages.
Yes.
Do you know, Martha, is this the same as the deed, or are they different?
I have my own set of
I know, I have a deed.
We need to like talk to them.
Martha then gives the other.
Oops, sorry.
Once one.
This is actually the one. Yeah, this is the deed. This is language here. So it looks like.
There's a place somewhere for people like you from pressing them. Hey, by the way, I keep on this. Did you see the hot rod in front of the house?
I don't.
Where'd you get that motorcycle, Rachel?
It's not mine. That's my neighbor, and they're trying to sell it to a friend, so they put it out there.
Yeah.
You can sell it back at a rock center.
Right.
We could do that too.
Okay.
before the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Do you want the receipts inserted in there?
The green slips are good.
Oh.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
I'll be on the phone.
Master plan update. Ms. Taylor.
So, we have contacted Community Opportunities Group to see if they can help us kind of wrap things up. So we're working with them to get a fee estimate for doing that. We still do have the natural resources that I need to review and Kristen, and then get it to the rest of the group and put together the implementation plan, but that's in, I'd say, pretty good shape, hopefully.
Well, when do you think you could get it to Roberta?
And she's got everything as it is right now, and she said she was actually impressed.
So.
But that we've done what we've done.
So nice. So it's the community facilities, She's got that?
She's got community facilities.
Transportation?
She's got transportation, she's got the markup that we did a while back of historic resources.
Oh, good.
And the
And so she's
natural
just waiting,
resources.
and then she has what you've given her on natural?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
that's,
yeah, she's got all of that.
that's good, that's good. And Tracy's okay with finding some funding for us, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So you expect to hear from her, Roberta?
Yeah, we need to, I do have an email from her, we need to kind of go back and forth a little bit. And Jan is working on the historical commission's edits to the cultural and historic resources section. And then I've talked with Gerard about the maps. And we may actually have still some funding. I need to check with MVPC to see where we stand with their part of the contract, but we may have some funding.
It'd be nice if we could have this done, and maybe we could make a short presentation at the special town meeting. Well, it's in October. Well, it's 2 months away. It'd be nice to, is it late October, right though?
It's the 24th or 25th.
Oh, so maybe it's 3 months. So it'd be nice to have a finished product, and we could make a minor presentation about the salient points. In particular, I really would like the town to see the data about the demographic shifts that are going on.
That would be good.
Don't you think?
Yes.
I think it's critical. Just critical, and then have maybe a short discussion of housing and what that means in the housing production plan. I mean, those to me jump out at me. I don't know, maybe other stuff that you've been working on, Martha, on the natural resources as well, but I mean, I'm very concerned about the demographic profile of the town. So, that's great news. And so you have your report as well? No? Oh, the zoning minutes, sure. So, have you had any further, no, you probably have, with Sam about the noise issue?
I have not.
Sam, you know, remember some time ago had asked us to take a look at a noise bylaw. It's not really a zoning issue. It's, you know, it's not, when I've seen them, they're not. But I just think that, Martha, if you could take the lead and contact Lisa and ask her if she could do some quick, I mean, I assume that maybe Tracy is okay with this because it comes from Sam. But this is for construction timeframes. And I mean, we've got a couple of projects behind us that is starting at 6:15 and, you know, in the morning. You know, it's just not right. So, and they go late into the night. And because they think they're in the middle of nowhere, right, that no one can hear them. No, you can hear them more so. Anyway, if we could have Lisa, you know, as we did with the marijuana stuff, that would be really helpful. And we can take the lead on it because I know Sam's not here all the time. And then what else do we want to do? We had talked about maybe some zoning changes to introduce as a first step to try to implement the housing production plan and seeing if we can get some affordable housing to maybe, I guess, look at the northern part of the BLI. That's what I've had in mind.
Yeah, or, I mean, rather than breaking it out, do the entire BLI and add multifamily as potential use there.
The only thing I've had with that is that I don't know if I'd like to see a lot of multifamily next to Bill's facility, for example. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if it was up at the corner in the intersection of Hanover and what is that? And Middle Road.
Right.
I don't know.
Maybe we could look at
Anyway,
overlay.
but it's a discussion to have.
Right. I think, you know, one sort of springing point for this is the holistic family building is still on
the market. They have got a new broker.
And I've had inquiries about whether it could be used for multifamily, and right now it can't. It could be used for mixed use, which allows no residential on first floor, only commercial. So it really kind of limits the possibilities.
Oh, okay, so I didn't know that. So we have, so the mixed use would be okay. They could put some kind of retail or office on the first floor, and housing above.
They could, but the person that I spoke with about that, it really didn't seem like that was going to be very viable.
Because of the nature of the area. There's not enough there.
The area of the building.
Well, I think the area, or what he had in mind.
Yeah.
He was looking at potentially some townhouse units or something like that, and having retail or commercial on the first floor.
How
So
big
it's
is
a
the lot?
non-starter. How big's the lot?
Yes.
Um,
If you don't know, don't answer.
yeah, no, I don't remember. I don't remember how big the lot is. I think the building itself could potentially support 4 or 5 units.
Mhm.
And we did identify it in our housing production plan. It's close to transit. It's, has a public water supply. Not municipal, but the well has been designated as a public water supply because of the use, the population of the medical.
So right now, if somebody wanted to do something on the other side where JRM is, they could only do a mixed-use project. It's maybe not a bad idea. I mean, you've got the solar project there anyway.
Right. Unless they wanted to do a 40B, they could do a friendly 40B, or they could do a regular 40B, because that kind of supersedes the zoning. They could do a multifamily that way.
Or a 40R.
Or it could be a 40R, which is what we tried before.
So, I don't even know how much land is on the other side of the street. I mean, where JRM and everything else is. Probably 5 acres or something
I
like
think
that.
it's more than that.
Think?
But yeah.
A lot of that disappeared with the solar array.
Boy, it sure did.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, we had 60 acres with that project.
Right.
and we don't.
So maybe we just look at introducing multifamily in that area, and then, I'm just not sure that it makes sense further south. I don't know, what do you guys think? I mean, all of a sudden you have this hodgepodge of stuff, but I have a feeling we'd be more likely to get higher quality residential than some of the commercial
Which
stuff
might
we've
bring
seen.
in some high quality commercial at some point.
You know?
Or a police station.
Yeah.
But you always hate to see a mixed bag of stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we wanted to just change the use, that's a relatively easy thing to do in terms of changing the table of use regulations. If we want to limit it, then we're probably looking at an overlay district of some sort. So it may be a bigger discussion. Maybe it's something we can't do for the fall, because our time's getting pretty short.
Be a nice step. I mean, the housing production plan was approved about a month and a half ago. It'd be a nice thing to be able to move forward with an action item pretty quickly.
Right. DHCD is still reviewing it, but the initial feedback I got from Phil DiMartino there is positive.
Yeah, I think I saw something to that effect from either you or Karen.
Yeah, I sent it to you and Karen.
How far does that water extend? Is it just to the holistic center, or is there an area down there?
It doesn't, it's
Doesn't
not.
go to them.
Yeah, it's a
Just a
well.
single one.
It's a well at the holistic center. It's not a water line. I think the water line stops at the
School.
railroad tracks, or the school.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's all part of everything that we're talking about anyway. But you have to force the issue sometimes, you know? And if you can get a developer who wanted to put a major project there, then you can have a discussion about the water. Anything else you were thinking of for STM?
No, those were the only 2 things right now. I mean, it's always hard to do the STM because the summer goes by so quickly and with the public hearing.
Well, it'd be nice if Lisa could help with the noise bylaw.
Right, and that would be a general bylaw, so it doesn't have to go through the whole zoning.
Right.
Would it only be for construction?
Well, I think we have one, don't, I mean,
We don't have anything on the books.
well, what we have is the mass, with the thing that was,
Right, that's state, yeah.
which is the state law,
Right, right.
which is kind of confining. I mean, nothing higher than 10 dB above ambient noise, and that's, let me tell you, that's a whisper. I mean, a chainsaw is like 100 dB. So it's not too loud that's allowed in an operation by the state. So maybe it's just worthwhile taking what the state allows and seeing if it's really missing anything. And then we could come up with something. But we just don't have that many operations that are noisy. I mean, just not enough industry.
No, not many. I mean, I think Sam's concern has been primarily construction noise and being able to actually regulate that in some way, because as you were saying, there's nothing on the books right now.
We should ask Mike Riley, what are the major complaints he gets about noise? And see to what extent we can, I mean, my guess is it's parties.
Yeah, that's his primary thing.
Right? Parties and construction. It's got to be the major thing. There's not a lot of gangs running around screaming, I don't think.
But in terms of the construction, if somebody needs to do whatever they need to do, I mean, you're not, how are you gonna limit the the dB, dBA, whatever, so
You just
but
limit
you
the
can do
hours.
the time,
The hours.
right, yeah, exactly, so, you just say.
During construction, I mean, especially, I mean, when you're doing lot clearing, I mean, between chainsaws and stump grinding and, and, I mean, it's just very noisy. The only thing is it's temporal. I mean, it ends.
Right, exactly.
Well, 10 dB up above ambient, it depends on how far away it's measured.
Well, it's measured at the property line.
Measured at the property line.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's-
Yeah,
I remember Paul saying that.
yeah. But, for some reason, he had the opinion when we were doing Borrego that state criteria of 10 dB, which our noise analyst did come up with relative to the noise coming from I-95,
Yes.
also applied to construction. Sam doesn't interpret it that way. So
I think it'd be kind of tough.
I
mean,
think it would be kind of tough.
How do you clear
But I
land
mean,
without making noise,
Right.
How do you
Or
don't?
hammer without making noise.
You
or
can't.
whatever you need to do.
When you're building a house and, you hammer, and it's loud.
It is.
I mean, all the site work is just extra. Look at what's going on at the golf course. I mean, that's got to be noisy. I mean, when they are working, right?
Well, apparently I can hear it at my house, so that's a,
Can you really?
well, that's what
Bill
Bill
was
DiFrancesco.
saying.
And I thought the hammering was coming from his site, and it's not, so.
Well, those are all interesting thoughts, though, and I think that if we could focus on the noise through Lisa helping us out, we can talk a little bit about the BLI, the northern part, and see if that makes sense. And I'm not sure what else
Probably
might be
good.
it. And do you have anything, and you wanna, oh, yes, you do,
Town
I asked you.
planners report?
Yes, I'd like to hear that.
I do. First of all, the Green ER group, which wants to improve the Upper Green, did come before the selectmen at their last regular meeting to essentially get their permission to go ahead and submit applications to the planning board for site plan review of the Conservation Commission, because the pond is a resource area. The selectmen requested that letters be submitted to them from the Historical Commission and I think I can't remember, there was
Tree warden.
Tree warden and some others in response to what they're planning to do with the Recreation Committee. So I think Ellen is coordinating that, and if they then decide that it meets everybody's criteria, then the applications will come forward. So that's where it is right now.
Do you know what Martha's talking about?
No.
Keith, well, this started actually quite some time ago. Keith Ablow's son and another young woman have started a group to restore town greens around the country. They're kind of starting with this one. And so Vern Fisher, who's a landscaper, has been working with Camet Engineering to develop a
I did hear about that.
So, what money are they using for this?
Well, they've started, they've developed a 501c3, they're getting donations, but Tracy's checking on this, but our belief is that because it's being done on town property, the money that they're collecting can be given to the town and put into a special fund. It would then need to go out to bid.
That sounds right. That
So-
sounds right.
I think they were hoping that they could actually do the work themselves and
Yeah.
kind of donate the project to the town, but
You know, there may be a way around that. Did Lisa give an opinion on that?
I think Tracy was checking with Lisa to see. I haven't heard back.
I seem to remember somewhere in the real back recesses of mine that you can somehow get something done like that. I just don't know.
The town can
Years
accept
and
money.
years ago.
Why can't it accept?
Well, it gets into procurement law. We've run
Yeah.
against that with some other projects as well.
And it gets into the whole issue of you know, union labor and stuff like
Right,
that.
prevailing wage.
Prevailing wage.
Right, and I think it depends on the dollar value of the project. I mean, you're looking at regrading everything south of the pond, possibly moving the baseball diamond, putting a new stone walkway around the pond and to the two memorials that are on the site, replacing all of the trees, and putting down 3 bronze cows.
That's not a small tax.
It's not a small tax.
That's not an expensive tax.
And the trees that they're proposing, basically it's kind of a Japanese elm, it's called Zelkova, and they're looking at putting in 5 to 6 inch caliper trees that are gonna be 20 feet tall when they're planted.
Those
And 24 of them, I think.
It's pretty mature.
But there's been a lot of concern about taking down all the trees and losing the shade.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I drive by the Rowley, whatever that, I guess that's a town green, let's call it that. And I'm underimpressed in the work that was done there. They put lighting in, I think that doesn't fit. The trees, half of them are dying. So I don't know if I don't think it's the same group of people, but, and they cut down a lot of the existing trees that were on the green. But anyway, that's just my own opinion of seeing it.
So,
Well, let's see it when it comes forward.
right, so we'll see. It may be a while. Selectmen meet again on the 28th. I don't know whether they're gonna be able to get all of these letters in time for that.
I mean, in a way, it's great that people have this initiative. I think it's fabulous. It's great.
I know the biggest battle is trying to figure out how to do it.
Usually is.
Yeah, I know, it is.
We may be getting a similar thing coming before us. The evergreen thing would be that would be a level 2 site plan review, just because of the grading involved and everything, all the trees. There is a committee that's been set up to move the World War II memorial that's at the apex of the triangle where Chris Horn's church renovation is, to the American Legion Park that surrounds.
Right as you drive down to it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the American Legion Park, which surrounds the post office in Byfield. So the committee's been working on that. There is a plan that's being developed. Fred Davis is heading it up, and he's supposed to come to meet with Sam and me for the next steps. I think it involves landscaping. It would be a level 1 site plan review, so it doesn't require a public hearing, but it still will need some review process.
Okay.
The other thing to report is that the Coleman Road project appears to be coming back. Camet was in to meet with Sam and Doug and me and Deb regarding potential yield plan. They're looking to try to do it with 2 shared systems. In the past, for a yield plan, we've looked at perking some large representative number of lots. So we need to follow up on this a little bit more to see if that's going to be, you know, if Title V gives enough leniency to look at the yield plan that way.
So are they waiting to hear from Deb on this?
I need to talk to Deb, and they're going to come. They did ask to come back before the board, or come before the board informally at one of the next meetings. I think the first meeting in September. So if that gets changed, I'll just need to let them know that date.
Okay.
So those are my 3.
Thank you. So, on liaison reports, I guess, have you kept us up to date on everything from the board? Yes, you have.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing, there was a special meeting last night to talk about the building project. Because now that we've got a schematic design, and the program has been flushed out and vetted, we're, looking at a budget which is much more than what the town appropriated. So the selectmen met last night to talk about whether there should be language on the ballot, the November ballot, regarding a different variation on the override. They did approve doing that.
What does that mean?
So the ballot language is to look at doing what's already been approved, with the addition also of possibly raising and rebuilding town hall, which might be less expensive than adding on to what's there. And the second option was added, JR would like to go back to looking at a combined town hall police station to see if that's going to be more cost effective. So the selectmen are going to be talking about all of this on August 28th, and the architect is going to come and
See what happens.
see what happens.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I think that's the major.
Concom, Jim's not here, but we had Doug to let us know what's going on. ZBA, anything?
ZBA, yes. Two items. One for June 21st, covering at 134 Northern Boulevard, there used to be a restaurant.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah?
on the right-hand side.
Yeah, which has been closed up for a while.
Right.
And Helen and, what's his name?
Oh,
Brian
Brian Bouya.
Bouya. In an ongoing process with the ZBA, wanted to build 2 towers there. Not really, but whatever it was going to be 2 identical buildings, which would increase the FAR and the height permitted. There would be separate condominiums, unattached. And this has gone on for some time, but as of the last meeting, everybody tried to convince everybody else that it can only be 1 building on a lot in Plum Island. You can't do 2.
Of course you can't.
No, I know it. So they were given the option to withdraw without prejudice or with prejudice. And they decided to go with
prejudice?
And that's over with.
Okay.
So it's over with.
So they can't come back for 2 years
No,
with the same project?
I don't think they will.
Yeah.
I think they're under agreement rather than purchased, so.
So you think they're coming back with just 1?
They
Even
could,
one?
I suppose they could come back with 1, but there was no word on that. On, let's see, July 19th, at another meeting, one item, Andre Buckley of 12 Forest Street wanted to build a detached apartment for her parents. And
Here, Forest Street here?
yes. And the problem was that the plan had been designed for 1,000 square feet. But their house is too small to go to 1,000 square feet, so they would have to go no more than 920 or so. So that became a problem. So after all was said and done, it was encouraged that she go back to her builder designer and say, what can I do with 900 square feet?
Right.
And what it means is taking off a couple of feet depth along the side of the building.
Do you have any sense, George, for the number of projects that have been brought before the ZBA since we changed the accessory bylaw?
I have no idea.
How would we find out?
That would be good to find out.
Building, well, yeah, there would be two ways, building permits plus ZBA approvals.
There was an editorial in the local paper about a month ago talking about this was such a marvelous way to get affordable units, and the fact that we did this, years ago, but I don't really know how effective it's been.
My guess is it hasn't been very effective.
Yeah. Well, one of the things is that the editorial was saying that it should be done by right. And ours is done by right if it's an existing.
If it's attached.
It's attached.
Yes.
But if it's a separate structure, it's a ZBA special permit. And I still think that's the right way to go, but I was just curious to see if our ordinance has in fact not been an incentive for it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It has been a problem. So I think that'd be worthwhile taking.
Yeah, I get the sense that it has been worthwhile, and I was talking to Susan about it the other day, and she seems to feel that we're going to be getting more and more applications.
More coming in.
So could we request of Susan, because doesn't she work with Sam too?
Not directly anymore, I mean, she's the ZBA administrator, but between Susan and Jen, we can get the information.
So do you ask for it, or should I ask for it?
I can ask for it.
Could you? That'd be worthwhile. I mean, I'd like to know, well, we did this change of bylaw and what happened.
Well, as Martha says, there could be more coming in that we really don't know about, but there seems to be a tendency to start to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, George?
No, that's all.
Thanks.
Okay.
As you know, Merrimack Valley Planning Commission is still on their summer break, so not much to report there, although you did meet with Gerard, and just at a staff level, Gerard is working on the maps. There's like, how many, 15 maps for the master plan? And Martha met with him. I had done some work with Martha on the maps first, but it looks like he'll be able to do these and get them done in a timely fashion. So with that, I will ask for...
We do have a member of the audience.
Oh, would you want to talk to us about anything?
Not specifically. I came to listen to the master plan, whether there had been any progress or any final decision on that.
Well, we were talking in and out about it.
I noticed.
The master plan, the sections of existing land use, projected land use, economic development, housing, and something else, is that it? Are done. And have been done by the consultant. We, the town, was responsible for community facilities, natural resources, historic resources, and transportation. Those are about 90% done. Community facilities is done, transportation is done, and the two others are close.
I see.
And we are looking to contract again with our consultants. Now that we've done the work, we want them to put it in a final condition.
I see.
Of, so it's all the same product, and it looks the same, and it's the same format, and the like. The maps that we were just talking about are, when would Gerard get to work on them?
I don't know. They're short-staffed right now.
Right. So the maps have been kind of like finalized, but they haven't been finalized by the people who are doing the final work. At least we've finalized the maps with them, but now they have to create them.
I see.
And so that'll probably take, I don't know, a while. We would hope they might have them done in a month. I was talking before about it would be nice if we could have the master plan done in a completed form in time for us to make a presentation at the special town meeting about what the critical findings were.
I see.
And that would be October 23rd. So that's really what we're aiming for right now, and if we can hit that, we'll do it.
That's aggressive.
Well, we've been at it for a while.
Hans worked on the natural resources section.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Well, I couldn't contribute much, but it was very interesting.
Oh, good.
It is very interesting.
Well, that's good. Well, okay. Anything else, Hans?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Will you adjourn?
Yeah. Second? All those in favor? Thank you all.